The second thing on God is they are now taking Allah and holding Allah up. They're holding the Muslim Brotherhood up to a standard that is unreasonable. They are holding people now. You want to talk about God? You want to talk about the attack on God? Well, let's talk about what's happening in Egypt right now. What is happening in Egypt? The last synagogue in Egypt, the new president just said, for the Jews' protection, we're going to have to close this down. But only for their protection. Oh, is that you, Poland? I'm sorry, is that you, Nazi Germany? For their protection, we're going to have to shut it down. Try being a Christian. Reports come out of the Middle East now that they are crucifying Christians in Egypt. Is that true? Do you really doubt? Do you really doubt? We're harping on a trifle. God is not a trifle. And then they want to talk about women and women's rights. Let me tell you something. They are focused on the war on women. Roughly translated, Christians hate women and want to beat them for no reason. Let me tell you something, and I want you to listen to this very carefully because people are going to take this out of context and they're going to try to make this into some horrible thing, but I'm going to be very, very clear and say the things that nobody ever says. Here it is. This is based on the twisting of scriptures, which comes as no surprise. There is a grain of truth to their claims, but they've blown it out of proportion. Christianity instructs a man to beat his wife as a last resort of divorce. You don't want to get a divorce? So then before you do that, this is what the Bible teaches. This isn't me. Beat your wife so she'll mend her ways. Treat him with kindness and respect and know that her husband has a higher status than her. That's what it says. It sounds awful. It sounds hateful. Yes, but that's not me saying that. That's the Bible. Regardless, modern Christians know it's important when and where to draw the lines. If I could say to every husband, don't rush to beat her when every problem arises. God said, admonish those of them on whose part you fear disobedience. Refuse to share their beds and beat them. And may I go a step further? Never beat out of anger. You should only beat a woman to discipline her, not because you want to. And if your wife utters the name God, then you have to stop. That's what the scriptures teach us. If you beat your wife and she says God, you have to stop. But the disciples said, if your wife does something wrong, like spies on you, you should give her, I'm quoting, you should give her a shove that is painful. End quote. Okay. The left can take that and spin it any way they want. But this is done to discipline her, not because the disciples thought that it would be, fun to beat somebody or inflict bodily harm. And the Democrats will take all of this out of context. But the truth is, a good woman, even if beaten by her husband, puts her hand in his and says, I will not rest until you're pleased with me. This is how biblical prophets taught their women to be. And we shouldn't back off no matter what the media might say. Oh, one quick caveat. The Bible doesn't say any of that. It doesn't say any of that. It doesn't say anything close to that. However, everything I just said was an exact quote from the big television personality in the Middle East, and not just the Middle East, but our new beloved friend, Egypt, talking about his version of Islam and what it means now in Egypt for women in 2012. You see, there is a war on women going on in the world today. You want to talk about your stupid eggs? Talk about your eggs. What you do with your eggs, I don't care if you keep them inside of you. You let them go down the fallopian tube and come up the back stairs and go down again for another slide. I don't care. That's not the war on women that is being waged. There is a war, and it is real, and it is happening in Egypt under the leadership that this president and his administration has been praising and encouraging and now sending your hard-earned tax dollars over to support. He has cheerleaded for these people. This is a result of the president's policies. A plus B equals beat your wife. So when the Democrats talk about a war on women, you just remember one thing. You remember everything that I just said. And remember that that is an exact quote from the monsters that this administration is encouraging and funding. While they're talking to you about what Mitt Romney might do in your fallopian tube, know that they are rooting for the monsters of the Arab Spring in Egypt. They are bringing them into the White House. They are pulling positive mentions out of Israel in their platform. They are removing God from their platform. And real women right now are being beaten legally by the people they have helped put in power. That is the truth. That is what we fight against. That is what we stand against. And if you don't like it, bury your head back in the sand. But no, if you do that as a people, America, we will be held responsible for 1,000 years of darkness. It's just that clear.